But here's the problem with that, I think, is that the trouble with Mamdani is he's a good communicator. He looks the part, he sounds the part. I can see a lot of things going for him. But when you actually get into his public statements on the record, some of the stuff he said about the police, that alone to me makes him disqualifying as a serious
not the
candidate.
voters.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Piers Morgan, on his show, Piers Morgan Uncensored, tried his hardest to make his panelists, including Joe Walsh, who we don't have a habit of agreeing with that man, slander the next mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. But Joe Walsh has a completely surprising answer that I did not expect, and you may not either. But Piers won't take that as an answer and will try to be hyperbolic in his response. It's a short clip. Let's watch it, and I'll give my thoughts on it afterwards.
I've been watching what's happening with Mamdani in New York. And it's very interesting to me because he's a pretty dyed-in-the-wool socialist with a track record of saying ridiculous things like defund the police and all the rest of it. And yet he's storming to apparent victory to be mayor of New York City. What does that say about where voters are right now?
Look, it says a lot about where voters are in New York City. I mean, again, Piers, I'm a Democrat only 8 weeks. You could call me a conservative Democrat. My God, Mamdani won the nomination in New York City. Hell yes, the party needs to embrace him, enthusiastically embrace him, show this freaking country and the world that Democrats understand we're a big tent. You know, Mamdani may not be able to win in Tennessee or Kentucky. Joe Walsh couldn't win in New York City. This fear that Democrats have to embrace Mamdani is what's really going to piss their voters off. We should embrace him, just like we should embrace more moderate Democrats in other places as well.
All right, that last part I didn't agree with at all. If the Democrats want to win anything, they have to back Mamdani and support his policy and only support people who have principles, not just moderate, fly-by-night, do whatever donors tell them to do. But at least he calls himself a conservative Democrat. Enough with calling these type of Democrats, quote-unquote, moderate. There's nothing moderate about them. They're conservative, which is fine because it's honest. Say what you believe. Don't pretend like you're the moderate position. When people can't afford groceries or just a place to live, there's nothing moderate about saying we can't afford to help even though we actually can. There's nothing moderate about receiving money from real estate companies and pushing people out of their homes because they can't afford rent. So he's wrong in that regard. But he's probably one of the only conservative Democrats that are saying he won. So you gotta support him. You gotta back him, which is pretty surprising, but it may be a sneaky way to try to throw in that idea of a big tent. You can't have people against taking corporate money and then people being flooded with corporate money in the same quote unquote tent, because then we're gonna be just fighting each other. And maybe that's what Joe Walsh wants, just to pretend like someone like Mamdani won't win in Tennessee or whatever. I bet any amount of money or push-ups or a lap around the block that any candidate running on using your tax money that you already pay for public grocery stores or public transportation or more affordable housing would win in any conservative deep red county in the country. So Joe Walsh may be doing some 3D chess reverse psychology thing, but he's in the right position at this time, so we'll allow it. And Piers, of course, cannot let that stand.
But here's the problem with that, I think, is that the trouble with Mamdani is he's a good communicator. He looks the part, he sounds the part. I can see a lot of things going for him. But when you actually get into his public statements on the record, some of the stuff he said about the police, that alone to me makes him disqualifying as a serious
Not the
candidate.
voters.
I mean,
Piers not disqualified.
I'll tell you why.
Not to Democratic voters in New York City.
I was in New York. Well, I was in New York last week. I was in New York last week when the mass shooting happened. And, you know, the NYPD reacted with incredible speed and incredible courage to stop that being a hell of a lot worse. And there you've got the guys who are going to be the mayor of the city, who's been saying terrible things about the NYPD, about defunding the police, about they're racist, they're homophobic, they're this, they're that, and the other. Imagine if you're in the NYPD right now and this guy's going to be your mayor.
Now, before Joe responds, let's take account that Piers is not blaming the current conservative mayor, Adams, for that mass shooting, right? He's not blaming the people that are in charge right now. He's saying, but what about the next guy that might be in charge later? He never has any pushback or doubt about any conservative in America. That's one. Two, the NYPD didn't do anything to stop that guy. Here he is just walking through Midtown with a big rifle on his side. The NYPD didn't do anything. He walked into that building, went upstairs, did what he did, and then took himself out. The NYPD didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. They didn't do a single thing. They were not brave in any way at all. They didn't do anything. By the time they got there, he was already out. So what credit should the NYPD get for that situation? The dude is from Las Vegas, where he had a registered legal firearm and drove all the way to New York to do what he was going to do. There's nothing anybody could have done to stop him, for real. Because he was legal to have it. He probably didn't break no laws, so there was no reason to pull him over. And then the only time anybody saw him with the firearm, he was walking through Midtown as he walked into the building. The police didn't do anything. So Piers is using this tragedy as a way to hit Mamdani, the future mayor of New York. Shit is gross. And another thing, who cares who he thinks is viable to vote for? He doesn't vote in America. Who cares? He doesn't have this conversation where he's from. He doesn't have this conversation about any conservative anywhere in the world. But he cares so much about who's going to be mayor in New York City. Mind your business. It's only because Mamdani's a socialist and wants to use public money to help the people that are not the billionaire class. Because if Mamdani ran on being supportive of our billionaire class, we need our millionaires to be the most powerful people in the world, Piers would not have anything to say about that. But Joe has a pretty good response.
Piers, he didn't say any of that last week. He said things in the past, and let's hope, and I believe he's learned from them, because he's going to represent the whole city, including the police officers. He's 33 years old. He struck a chord. I have confidence that he's going to learn on some of these issues as well.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Nah, Joe, the real answer is just simply, man, f the police. But you can't really say that to Piers because that's what he wants. He's just trying to get a gotcha, and Joe knows that, so he gave him an answer that you can't clickbait. You can't clip up and use against later. You just say, oh yeah, he made a mistake. That was a long time ago. We moved past it. He'll learn from it. That's perfect because Piers doesn't want to have a debate on policy, just something he tweeted years ago, which wasn't wrong. He's not wrong. The NYPD spends billions of dollars a year on the police. And this guy just walked through the city and did what he did. So that doesn't help. Having a big cop city and spending more money than most militaries in the world doesn't keep us safe. Helping people so that they're not constantly in survival mode is actually how we make a safe society. And to be fair, probably nothing could have stopped that guy from doing what he did. But if you're still watching, you might as well like this video and subscribe to the channel and let me know what you think about all this in the comment section. Peace.